I did not overproof this dough by accident. I overproofed it because at every stage it gave me signs I didn't know I had to read. The dough looked fine, it felt fine, and then the bake told the full story. This is what I kept misreading at each stage and what was actually happening the whole time. At mixing, overproof dough does not announce itself. The dough comes together normally, feels hydrated, and feels workable. The mistakes at this stage is not what you do with your hands, it's the assumption you carry in. Room temperature, starter activity, how warm the water was, these are already setting the pace of fermentation before you have done anything else. Most overproofing starts here before the first fold. During stretch and fold, extensibility can feel like a good sign. The dough pulls out smoothly, it does not tear, it feels like it's developing well. But at this stage, dough that offers very little resistance and stretches further than expected is often moving faster than it should. What felt like good progress was the fermentation already running ahead. I read it as the dough developing. It was actually the dough loosening. By slap and fold, the dough should still have some pushback. It should slap against the bench and want to hold itself together. This dough was more relaxed than that. It spread a little more on the bench between slaps. It felt compliant rather than elastic. At the time, I took it that hydration was doing its job. It was the gluten network beginning to weaken under fermentation that had moved too far. This is the stage where the clearest signs appear, and I still missed it. When you lift the dough for a coil fold, a well-fermented dough holds its shape briefly before folding under. This dough draped. It sagged at the sides and offered almost no resistance when lifted. That is not softness from hydration. That is a gluten structure that fermentation has started to break down. The dough was telling me directly, and I read it as normal. By the end of bulk, the dough looked exactly like you would see in a good bake. Smooth surface, dome slightly, visible rise. But the feel was different. It was pillowy in a way that felt more fragile than strong. When I pressed it gently, the indent stayed longer than it should have. This is the sign. A dough in the right window pushes back slowly. This one had gone past it, and the surface was showing me the result of gas that had already peaked. Shaping is where overproofing stops being something you suspect and becomes something you cannot ignore. Every time I try to build tension, the dough springs back out on the bench. It had no elasticity left to work with. The surface skin tore slightly when I tried to tighten it. A dough with good structure grips the bench and pulls tight. This one just moved. At this point, there was nothing shaping could do to recover what fermentation had already taken. Scoring an overproof dough feels different before you even see the result. The blade drags slightly rather than cutting cleanly through a taut surface. And as soon as the scoring opens, the dough exhales rather than holds. It settles rather than springs. That deflation on the score is the last sign before the oven. The gas structure that should push upward during bake has already peaked and partially collapsed. The dough has nothing left to give. By the time it came out the oven, nothing was a surprise. Flat spread, a crust that didn't color the way a strong dough would, a crumb that was dense and slightly gummy where the structure had broken down. The oven did not cause any of this. Every stage before it did. The bake just made it impossible to miss what I had already been misreading the whole way through.